Hello and good morning to everyone. I am Isha Fernandez, Academic Head at Aptech International Preschool and moderator for today's webinar, Emotional Intelligence, the Quotient That Matters. We have been hit by another wave of COVID with strict restrictions in many states. Today, parents are confused about their children's growth academically, but most importantly, worried about their child's development, good development in social and emotional skills, while social restrictions are still applied. So to answer to our queries related to social emotional development in early years, we have a fantastic and dynamic panelists here. So let me introduce you to our panelists today one by one. We have Miss Fatima Agarkar. She is the founder of Agarkar Center of Excellence and is an award-winning educator who has donned many hats, including that of a principal, a trustee, managing director, to name a few. She's an avid blogger, recognized as parenting expert. Shortly, she's even authoring for books on educator resources and parenting. She is a vice president of Early Childhood Education, Early Childhood Association, which is ECA, and along with that, she's also the Mumbai territory head of Association of Primary Education and Research, APR forum that brings early childhood and primary educators together. We welcome you, Fatima, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Very humbled with your warm introduction, Isha. Excited to be in conversation with two ladies that I admire a lot. Neha, I don't think she needs any introduction. Anybody in the parenting world knows her. And of course, Bhavika claims to be very shy, but is one of the most eloquent ladies I've ever met and spearheads a lot at Aptech. So looking forward to this conversation. Anisha, thank you so much for moderating all our, we're going to be talking a lot, Isha. So
yes,
we'll play the watchkeeper now.
Looking forward for that, Fatima, ma'am. The second panelist we have with here today is Neha Kare. She's the founder of Unimo, Universe of Moms, which is the world's largest community of moms that has 4.6 lakhs digitally connected moms on Facebook and WhatsApp. She also is a global lead for Facebook Community Leadership Circle Mumbai. She has won a lot of awards. To name a few, Young Learning Leader of India 2015 and Lions Club Philanthropy Award, which was won in 2018. Apart from that, Neha is a corporate trainer specializing in the domain of digital marketing and sales from the last 16 years. And to top it all, she is a EQI 2.0 trainer, certified professional who has worked for renowned organizations like Times of India, Unilever, IFB, and ADB. We welcome you, Neha Kare. Neha, you're on mute. You're on mute.
Okay, so thank you, Isha, for the warm introduction, and I'm so excited to be here with Fatima. I just extend my warmest wishes to her because I admire her very closely and she knows it. And glad to meet Bhavika, the lady, the superpower behind Aptech. And I'm looking forward to this panel. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, Neha Kare. Thank you. The third panelist for today that we have is Mrs. Bhavika Chauhan, who is our Senior Vice President at Aptech Limited. She has a 20 plus years of experience in sales and marketing in education and training. She is currently heading the business of Aptech International Preschool, the youngest addition in Aptech family and in MAC. So we welcome you, Bhavika, to the forum.
Thank you so much, Isha. It's a privilege to be sharing this platform with Fatima and Neha. Of course, the two ladies, we share mutual admiration club, I guess, by now. I mean, yeah, of course, it's like, so very nice to see them on the screen, and what a way to start. And of course, Neha fits the subject so well. I mean, I just get to know that you are a qualified EQI trainer. So that definitely makes this whole, discussion or a webinar going to be damn interesting. Fatima, of course, I know we've only met virtually since December. I hope to meet her soon. Neha, I've got one chance of meeting her during one of the Unimo events in Bombay. Yeah. So maybe, that day it was like too much into happening. So we probably could not meet or connect so well. But thank you for joining us, ladies. On behalf of Aptech, I really appreciate the fact that you could take off your time on a Saturday evening. Sorry to pull you all off from your, families, and we'll not take you long here. And welcome to all the parents, partners, the Aptech team who are there on this show. And I'm sure this is going to be a damn meaningful, interesting episode. That's my promise to everybody. Thanks again, once again, ladies, for joining the show.
Thank you, Bhavika. So before we begin with our Q&A session, I would want to know, thoughts about the session from our panelists. So let me invite Bhavika to share her thoughts on why we chose the topic for the webinar. So over to you, Bhavika.
Yeah, I guess, Neha, Fatima, there's been lots spoken about this pandemic. It's been now 1.5 years we've been into it. It's given a lot of, there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of anxiety around the globe, right? I'm sure you all agree with me on this particular topic or subject. It's left a lot of psychological and mental health implications on children, especially. I was reading an article and I get to know that globally there are 2.2 billion children world over, which constitutes 28% of the global population. And essentially this pandemic, because of these schools being closed, the children are not able to go outdoors, they're not able to go to the parks, meet the friends. So it's a sled of, it's kind of a experience which has led to stress, anxiety, feeling of, helplessness is what we felt. And since we of course are a preschool brand also now with Aptech having this preschool since last 2016 onwards, we come across a lot of parents and they give us a lot of these insights. They share with us, the behavior of their children currently. Sometimes some parent tells me that, this child of mine is constantly clinging to me, not letting me do anything. At times when, when things were eased out post September or December types, when they take them to the park, the child is not ready to be with the other children or mingle with the other children in the park. So that somewhere strike, to us that, yeah, we keep on talking about academics, we keep on talking about, laws in education, academics, and various other aspects. But the most important loss today a child is going through is the social connect, and it's the emotional well-being, and I don't think so. I feel very few mothers, I'm a mother. Of course, my son is now a teenager, but, whether a mother is able to identify these changes in the child, if a child is slightly behaving abruptly or differently, whether she has the ability to identify that there is a stress in the child. And, for that matter, we felt that it is, it would be really a nice thing to have you both on board. Neha, of course, has a huge network of mothers connected to her. Fatima has an excellent track record in terms of, child development and various other things. That's her forte. So to bring you both on this platform and, somewhere have an understanding that how important it is today for mothers and for us, as educators, as, as being a part of this, we somewhere try and constitute something to the society in some form or the other. So that's the reason we said that, okay, let's have this kind of a session, and kickstart a series of webinars under Aptech International Preschool Edu Hacks, where, which will give you a lot of insights to the mothers who are currently, probably at times struggling with these things. So I guess, yeah, that's the reason we chose this subject for today's session. Yes, Isha.
Thank you so much, Bhavika, for sharing your thoughts with us. My next, I would want to know, would want to move on to Fatima, Fatima ma'am. So please, can you share your thoughts on why social emotional learning is important from a child's perspective? So if you could please put a light on that.
Thank you, Isha. And a relevant topic like Bhavika mentioned, you know, when we talk about education, it's often fixated on performance, and those performance goals are always about language acquisition, numeracy, brilliance, scientific discovery. We often forget that children are all about emotions. It's how they feel, and then how they react to how they feel. Unfortunately, we've all been in lockdown since March 2020. I, for one, have not stepped out, perhaps to my parents' house to visit them, but largely it's been work from home. And when you are working from home, you realize that it's not normal to be normal. You just can't. You will have those moments of impulse loss. As adults, we do it. Imagine the little ones subject to all of this, locked in a house, unable to go out, and nobody to actually guide them about how to regulate those emotions. So socio-emotional learning is not new. Any pre-primary or primary educator will tell you child psychology is all about helping children understand their emotions. We have only begun to talk about it because the pandemic happened. It might just, by the way, become a graded part of a report card. Suddenly all the parents are going to say, oh, this is super important now, as important as language acquisition. That means my child being happy doesn't mean my child doing well. My child being happy is my child falling down, getting up, brushing off, and walking on and saying, oh, I got hurt. I felt bad, but I'm okay. I can move on. Socio-emotional learning is a process of development. It's about self-awareness. It's about self-control. And it's about interpersonal skills. Honestly, Bhavika's from the corporate world. I'm from the education world. Neha has got a blend of both, right? You want people in your organization who understand problem solving, decision making, are balanced, happy. When you are allowed to take a vaccination and take 4 days off just in case you don't feel well, but you turn up at work on day 2 and say, I'm ready. Nothing's wrong. You gave me 4 days, but I'm ready to hit that because I can manage. You want those adults. Where do those adults come from? They'll come when they are preschoolers. By the way, parents, the price you attach to therefore regulating a child's emotion is perhaps 100%, not even 90, not even 70. Your academic skills are now 110, 120. I've changed the dynamics. 100% is regulation of emotions. And that for me is why socio-emotional learning is important. It's part of your child's DNA. They just need to now handle it. And that's why you need trained experts like Neha to walk us through how to do it. Why is it that you can help those who understand a bit? And in our world today with information overload, lots of strategies. I'm not sure all of them are authentic. Neha, I'm sure you'll agree with me. Thanks, Isha.
Thank you, Fatima ma'am, for your lovely insight. I would want to ask Neha ma'am now to share her thoughts on why social emotional learning is important from a parent perspective. So if you could share some words on this. Thank you.
Okay, first of all, always Fatima says that I steal her lines and today she has stolen mine. So first of all, thank you Fatima for giving it a great start, and thank you Bhavika for bringing in this subject. In fact, I want this subject to become mandatory in all the preschools, because it's like as important as a child learning about, any basic academic skill. It is as important as that. And the question what you have directed to me, Isha, is about parents, because of course I run the largest community of mothers and I interact with mothers day in and day out. Let's understand one thing, that any change, like I and Fatima, we were just discussing before the live started that we've been on so many panels together. And every panel, if we can use one common line, it's about your children emulate you. They don't listen to you, but they observe you. So whatever the parents are doing in their life, I think that's what, the kids are doing in theirs. So first thing first, let's understand how are adults managing their emotions? How are adults managing their social emotional learning? Like when I did my EQI 2.0, it was with that perception that being into a training space, into a L&D space, I wanted to understand how exactly adults behave when it comes to emotional stress, building new behaviors, coping up with team stress, a boss who's very, demanding. How exactly are you coping up with these stressful situations? For that to understand, I did my course, and it was quite insightful because I saw that as parents, like as adults, we just take care of our own, behavior, our own social emotional, learning, be a little more mindful of, how are we reacting to certain situations. But when it comes to parenting, you're not just impacting your own behavior, but also your kids' behavior. Kids learn from you. Like, for example, if there is a mother who's going through a lot of mental breakdown and she's still not seeking any mental help, the children are learning it from her. They'll never express their emotions how freely, they should. So basically, as parents, we have a higher responsibility of not just managing our own emotions, but also making sure we are a great example in front of our kids. Like as Fatima was saying, that today interpersonal relationship plays a very important role. Like social distancing should not mean social isolation. Like right now, if people are sitting in this pandemic, what are you doing to connect with your friends? Like I take an opportunity to connect every week with one set of my friends on a Saturday weekend to just have a Zoom call with them and connect with them. Why am I doing it? Because my kids are watching me. I'm always on this Zoom speaker. They are listening to the conversation. They understand that my mother is making an effort to connect with her school friends, her community friends, and without really being preachy, I'm setting an example for them. So I think these are the conscious efforts we all have to make as parents to make sure that we are emulating the same things in our behavior which we want our kids to emulate from us. So yes, that's my take on it.
So well said,
Thank you
Neha.
so much, Neha ma'am. Thank you so much. Before we move on to our Q&A session, I would just want to inform all the attendees that we are trying to make the session a lot more interesting. So we will be having a slot kept for parent Q&A, and we do have in between polls that we will be having. So after asking few questions, there will be some polls that will be asked to the attendees to know where are their thoughts and how are they receptive to whatever is being spoken to right now. So we are trying to make our sessions very interesting. So this was just a small information I wanted to give to all the attendees. Now we will move on to our Q&A to our panelists, definitely. My first question that I would like to ask would be to Fatima ma'am. So definitely, you earlier answered about why social emotional learning is very important for from a child's perspective. I would want to know that given the situation, current situation, how does this impact a child's emotional well-being? The situation of stay at home, and what would be few things that parents can do to maintain a child's emotional well-being? If you could just put some light on this, Fatima ma'am.
Isha, you've asked me $1 million question. If I get this right, I think, Neha, I'm going to steal your thunder. I'll have a parent following. Okay, but I'm going to try and answer it as realistically as possible because I think the one thing the pandemic has taught us is that there is no perfection. We are what we are, basis of the variables we find in that situation at that moment. I've taken my vaccine on April the 5th. I was told 28 days. As soon as May 2nd happened, my date has moved to 12 weeks now. So I have to follow the 84-day cycle. Things change. Do I react to that or am I patient? Now that is really the difference between parenting styles. We've got to embrace the next 18 months as parents, as adults, as work in progress. Essentially, what it means is that variables will change tomorrow. If, like Neha beautifully pointed out, if you are stressed, if you are reactive, if you are concerned, if you are hyper, if you are all over the place, your children will follow you. Because, like she pointed out, they are mini versions of you. They have no other role model. Yes, they do have their teachers in front of them. And kudos to parents who continue online learning. but the fact is you are in physical space with them, which is essential. So a lot of the parents who've done well, and what I mean by that is their children have been able to regulate emotions, is simply because they stayed calm. They did not react to situations. They dealt with it with absolute communication. I don't mean by saying that, no, you can't go out to play because if you go out, you will die. That kind of communication is toxic. It's scary. You cannot tell a 3-year-old that. But what you can tell a 3-year-old is, we're all at home. It is actually safer at home than it would be outside, but let's make it fun at home. Just look at the tone change. Switch your televisions off for one. Why are you listening to FOSSI and WHO and center updates all the time with your children playing around? Sorry to say, but a 3, 4, 5-year-old has the IQ of perhaps the most intelligent person you have ever met as an adult. Remember that. They are listening, and then they're gauging your reaction, and you're worried, makes them worried. But if you say, okay, I will watch this when my child is napping. I hope your child is napping, and I hope your child is in bed by 8 o'clock, by the way. I don't understand preschoolers sleeping by 12. That's when you watch your television. It's how you handle it as adults. I'm not saying it's easy. I think all the mothers out there, big pat on our backs. I'm patting my back. I have a 15-year-old. Virtual school got over yesterday. Thank God the year has ended. I have got a new little addition to my family, a little puppy, a cockapoo. I have no knowledge of dogs. I'm depending on my vet and my trainer, who I'm hounding. I have a working husband. I'm a working mom. It's chaotic, and I still have to smile every time my child wakes up. Not easy, but sorry to say, like Neha rightly pointed out, we are adults. We are the responsible. We are in a position to regulate our emotions far more with experience. You know what? We'll take a shower and our anger will come down. A child cannot do that. A child will emote, a child will express. You need to let the child know that it's okay to express, but the moment has passed, and that moment passes on to a happier moment. If you start reacting, if you start endorsing that tantrum, what you're doing is you're telling the child, this is attention seeking. You're telling the child it's okay to scream and shout, and that's the only way you can get your answer. So your emotional well-being is also about letting them know it's okay to cry at times. Come on, my little pup has bitten me. I mean, if you look at him, he's like a little toy. He's little, okay, but his bite is ferocious. I did feel like crying, and it is okay to cry. And I looked at him and I said, Fatima is crying, it hurts. But that doesn't mean I don't love him. In the next minute, I've picked him up and cuddled him, but I did leave 10 minutes between that action of saying, no, it hurt me, and then cuddling him. So don't confuse children. As parents, you know what? Neha pointed it out beautifully. Your mental health, your fitness, your socializing with your friends makes you happy. Happy endorphins get into your body. You are smiling, you are happy, automatically your child is in a better space. Then if your child has spilled milk and you have to clean it up, or get your child to clean it up with you, you will smile and do it. But if you're irritable because you missed the Zoom call because your husband said something and your mother-in-law told you, nahi, aaj to yahi khana banana hai, you're irritable, that milk cleaning session becomes a monologue where you're screaming and everything your child has done for the last 3 years comes out. Boss, leave that. That moment has passed. If you become a nag, your child will start getting irritable. The quick parenting hack is remain in control of yourself. That's socio-emotional learning, self-awareness, self-control. It's for me, it's like pieces. Basically, problem solve. It's a problem for that moment. Regulate your emotions. Count to 10. It's a simple exercise. I've never done yoga, but through the pandemic, I'm doing breathing exercises to remain calm. Every time I open Facebook, there is news that scares me. I regulate it by also doing some calming down exercises. Guys, start doing that. Regulate your emotions. You want to scream. You want to use those explicits, those abusive terms. Go to the bathroom. Use the mirror. You look really ugly when you do it. Immediately you'll calm down, wash, splash of water, come back. It is about parenting. It's about how you control yourself and your child does. So Isha, lots of evidences of great parenting styles that have been exhibited. Bhavika's style will be very different from my style. Neha will be very different from Bhavika. We all have teenage boys, by the way, and we're all very connected on that note. It's a boy-mom circle. But Bhavika might handle a situation differently. Fatima will be different. Neha will be completely different. All our styles are okay as long as we're helping our children. Let's use social media to take up tips. I've watched what Neha does and I said, hey, listen, I can try this. I've never done this before. Let's not say, Neha ne kiya, to aaj main karke hi rahungi. Because that is our desire, right? I have to do what Neha does. Please don't do that. Calm down, do what works for you. I cannot cook. I've said this to Neha. When I see people baking and putting those pictures, mujhe rona aata hai. Me, what kind of mother is it that I cannot bake a cake for my son? My son has told me, please never attempt it. Because the cake represents happiness, and when you do it, it doesn't. But I love you, Mom. And I think that's a great response. Mom is not perfect, but I try my level best. And I think that's my advice to parents.
Thanks, Fatima. That was really so well said. I mean, I must admit something, from the time I've come to this particular segment, which is preschooling, there's so much that I have heard about, a child, I mean, the brain development happens between this age to this age, and then this is how you need to speak, talk to the child. What you just now mentioned, all these things, for a long time, I was in depression. I felt I've done such wrong parenting with my child, because those things were not aware. I was not a part of that, ECA or, understanding, struggling mother, managing her home, managing the office, coming home late, all those irritation at times. Poor child, he's gone through that stress with me. But yeah, there was a time there, I eased off. I really eased off that you need to go slow.
But Bhavika, Neha, I think you should jump in and answer this, because social media has actually influenced the younger mothers into becoming more perfect than perhaps Bhavika, you and I were.
Yeah.
I was a working mom. I took some time off, but then I realized my son has become so attached that he would stand outside the bathroom, and that was actually difficult for me to understand, because I was an educator. My child should have been very balanced. So it's my own admission to say that what you have to understand your own variables. There was too much attachment. He needed a distance. So we have to understand.
I would like to add on to what Fatima is saying, that there are a pro and a con attached to this social media life, especially when it comes to young mothers who are more active on Instagram rather than Facebook. When you look at Instagram, the entire feed, like every social media platform has a purpose. Instagram is about tooting your own horn through your visual mediums. Okay. Now, visual mediums are more about pictures, and that's the reason a lot of kids are on Instagram as well. And the age group, I'm sure you guys are aware that Instagram allows 13-year plus to have an Instagram account as a policy.
Right.
But if you look at the recent researches, they all are talking about social emotional learning. Why are these big giants suddenly talking about emotions? Because if you look at the likes count and the comments and everything, this is giving people nightmares. Starting from a teenage, like a 13-year-old who started keeping an account. Like my son, to a very large extent, still feels that social media influencers are much more powerful than any other politicians in this world, because the politicians and the change makers are not interacting with them anymore. It's these YouTubers and influencers who are doing more interactions. Per se, as Fatima rightly said, when we look at these moms who try to make everything look so mom perfect, because of maybe the brand endorsement they, associate with, or, the hoard of collecting more likes or more comments on it, eventually you forget about the content. You just look at the bottom strip of it. I, being a social media influencer, I've hardly had, like, you'll not believe, I have a Facebook following of 5 lakh mothers, like 500,000 mothers, but on my Facebook friend list, I hardly have 1,800 people. So I've chosen to keep it like this. Now, why have I chosen to keep it like this? Because it helps me keep my sanity alive. Like, guys, like today's mothers, if you really want to balance your motherhood, like Fatima, when you were saying an instance when your kid was standing by your bathroom, and you were looking at that moment, ask how many mothers in today's world have that kind of moment. Today, the kids are parked on the screens are the new babysitters. Mothers do not have that attachment problem anymore, where there's no kid is knocking on the bathroom anymore if you're just putting him with a screen. Don't we miss all that moment? Don't we miss all that clinginess? And especially, we three who are the teenage mothers, now our kids have their own universe now. They're not behind us anymore, and we miss that so truly. So I think, adding on to what Fatima said, new moms, young moms today, take a note that these moments will never come back. Social media will always be there, oriented in new, different forms. But the motherhood, you lose onto these primary years when you are the solar, center of your entire kid's life, So, yeah,
And
but
it's how
I
you
pity them.
communicate. And it's the communication, it's the choice of words.
Sorry?
No, so Neha, it's also about your communication, your choice of words. As young moms, I mean, when we talk about SEL, it is about basically the direction that you give and how you help them problem solve. But it's not a perfect world. That's the point we were trying to say. And because of that imperfection, you have so much more opportunity to constantly communicate and build their confidence. We do not want people to break down and say, my business is shut, I don't know what to do, and that's where you spoke about mental health, right? The statistics are very
agree with Fatima that, first thing first, we have to understand that nobody's perfect. Like today, I had my audio issues. Yesterday, people were helping me. It's not so that just because I'm a social media influencer, I have everything in place and I'll be like always my 100%. And it's okay to falter. And I really liked, Fatima, when you were saying that it's okay to giggle and handle that situation with such, maturity, such gracefulness, that people around you will understand that she's not the one who will create this fuss around a thing gone wrong. Nothing is perfect, yeah. Perfection is, I would say the biggest myth we all are, addressing every day. So yeah, I truly echo your thought there that the communication has to be such where imperfection is accepted beautifully.
Isha, I promised you we would continue to talk and not allow you to. So sorry about that, but we just are enjoying the conversation, and I think such relevant, beautiful, and important points that I hope the parents and fellow educators can, have a lot of takeaways from that.
So there are a lot of touch points that you both are giving while the conversation is happening. So I feel like this should keep continuing because I like to hear, I'm liking it hearing all these things. So moving on to the next question, I would want to ask Neha. So because she is an EQI 2.0 trained, and she also has teenage boys, So how important is social emotional learning in early years? This is my question to you, Neha.
Isha, what an irony to have both the people together. Like you are a EQI certified trainer and you also have teenage boys. Okay,
Yes.
so I think it's very, very beautiful. But I would agree with one thing, because we are talking about early childhood here, and I'm also a vice president with ECA. I've seen the wonderful work Swati Popat ma'am has been doing, and yeah, kudos to her. And I'm so glad that today when I'm interacting with all of you, the early childhood educators, and the kind of pack which is leading this thing, I'm seeing it first time because I've always been from the corporate side of it. And today when I see all of you leading the pack, I think I'm very proud of these set of bunkies who are researching about every little nook and thing. Because Isha, as you asked me, during the early years, like सही में पूछा जाए तो हर चीज अगर आप अर्ली बिगनर हो तो आपको हमेशा एडवांटेज होगा, राइट? इट्स लाइक नथिंग रॉकेट साइंस देयर. एवरीथिंग इफ यू स्टार्ट अर्ली यू विल बिकम बेटर एट इट. So of course, being a EQI trainer, I would like to highlight 5 competencies which we've been taught, which are like the core competencies of social emotional learning, and this is applicable to adults. And
We lost you, Neha. Neha, you're on mute.
Yeah, we lost you. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, now we can.
No.
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 Not yet.
okay, is it better now?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I got a
Yes.
call. So I'm saying people like Fatima, who are educators, who are change makers, can plug it in the education scenario. Aptech can, plug it in their scenario. But looking at a parenting aspect and the 4 competencies, parents can also implement it in their day-to-day lives. Like I'll tell you what these competencies are. The first one is, as I think, Fatima also mentioned, it's about relationship skills. The kind of interpersonal skills you build is totally dependent on the social emotional learning you have in your life. Second is self-awareness, which I think should have been the first one in the core competency, because till the time you're not aware of your own behavior, own social emotional, mood management, how will you really correct others? Third is self-management. Now this is beyond awareness. How are you controlling your behaviors? How are you managing stress? How are you coping with your ecosystem around you? Fourth is social awareness. Now, maybe I'm a very short-tempered person, but I should know how do I behave in a social setup. And especially in the early childhood years where schools are the primary, like early childhood years, when schools or kindergartens are the first interface where kids go to the outer world, which is little less protected as compared to the household, environment, and they go and start interacting with other people. Here, social awareness makes a lot of difference. How much have you really updated your kids on social awareness? Are they really okay to initiate a conversation? Are they the ones who will respond to it? It's okay. Like, even if your kid is not the initiator, he's the person who prefers following, it's still okay, but you should know about his behavior. And fifth and very important core competency is, by emotional social learning or SEL, primarily you learn how to make responsible decisions. So it's not about making decisions. Everybody makes decisions, but how can you make more responsible decisions is what SEL teaches you. So these are the areas where I think every parent, every educator, everybody who's interested in SEL would find some feathers in. But looking at the teenage age and how early years, I would say early years intervention around SEL would help you in your teenage years. Like, I know today my boys are very well equipped to prevent risky behaviors. Like, see, I cannot protect them 24/7. I'm sure, like, we have two young mothers here with the same age boys, young teenage boys. We cannot be fighting their battles on the playgrounds anymore. They have to fight their own battles. Have you prepared them for preventing risky behaviors? And if they are dealing with stress, do they really know how to manage their stress on their own level rather than coming to us for every single advice? When I say preventing risky behaviors, Isha, for a teenage, it can be about drug use. If their friends are using drugs, how are they responding to the entire scenario? It can be around violence, it can be around bullying, it can be about cyberbullying nowadays, it can be about trolling them on social media, it can be about dropping out of a school year or a class, and how are they coping with it. So these are teenage issues, and these can be addressed only when the early years are taken care of. Where the soil competencies, the core competencies are taken care of. Have you taught your children how to manage emotions? How have you taught them how to show empathy? Have you taught them interpersonal skills? Have you taught them how to manage stress? Have you taught them that bhaiya har baar aap nahi jeetoge? At times you will fail. Have you taught them how to deal with that failure? Today's kids are very well equipped with winning, with victory. They'll be the shining armors there. They will know how to talk about their victories, but do they know how to talk about their failures? These are the things we manage through social emotional learning. And I feel as parents, we have the primary responsibility of developing these things before we send them even to kindergarten. Like how you are responsible to potty train them and not put it on the teachers. You are responsible for training them on SEL and then putting them in a classroom. And I'm sure then they'll be like in.
Again on mute.
I think she's getting a cold.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I was done anyways. Yeah. Thank you.
Brilliant.
Thanks,
Very
Neha, thank you, Neha, ma'am, for your, good touch points that you gave to all our parents. I would want to direct the third question to Bhavika. How does preschool education address the social intelligence or anxiety of a child? And what are a few must-haves in the curriculum to nurture preschoolers? So yes, Bhavika, over to you.
Okay, it's more of a Fatima question, but okay, let me try and attempt it here with Aptech. So yeah, I guess Aptech is globally known more of a education training organization which we deal with training students in the vocational space. This is the first segment that we have where we started dealing with toddlers. There was a sea change from the vocabulary onwards. We generally talk about students, here we talk children, then we talk about training. You can't train a child, you have to educate a child, right? So from that entire first change internally which we adopted, we always wanted, when we wanted to get into this space, it was more about of course education is one aspect because that's why you open up a school. That's the primary objective of having a child in the school. But more than that, our two big reasons for us, or rather two big pillars which we wanted to be the kind of core values for Aptech International Preschool. One was, of course, being the safest school that we offer to a mother, because I'm sure, I don't know about you ladies, but I have gone through that stress when my child was in a daycare, and the guilt feeling, that's of course one aspect. The other aspect is, how safe is your child? Is he doing things rightly there? Are the teachers taking care? So that was one aspect which we wanted to go very aggressive, and with great pride I can say that, yeah, we've achieved to a larger extent, on every aspect of safety. The other thing was, having a very socially active child, where a lot of things we need to imbibe or inculcate, starting from the partner whom we choose, starting from the teachers, the trainings, and various other things. So today, with the, of course, I on record I can go that Fatima has been kind enough, she's been generous to help us out structure the entire new pedagogy at Aptech International Preschool. So thanks to you. I mean, the kind of flavor that she's brought in, with regards to, we were following certain philosophies.
I
But
think this is your biggest brand endorsement moment. Yay!
yeah. So it's unintended though. I mean, it just came as a part of the flow.
Yeah, but Bhavika, I did, if I may, Neha, because you're on air as well, the reason why ACE, was excited about this particular project is simply because of Bhavika's passion. When we first connected with Bhavika and then her colleagues, there's Ali Bhai as well, and then there's a host of team members. Aptech's a big team. Okay, Isha is part of that core team as well. It was simply about setting goals for the future. It wasn't about dealing with the past. It wasn't about course correction for tomorrow. They were already thinking 2080. So when you have that as a background, imagine what flexibility you have. Anybody associating with them knows they are prepared for the worst, and then they will do their best. I think for a lot of parents, that's very comforting. They have your back before even you know that there will be a problem, and that means it has to be a part of the structure. It has to fit in. It has to have everything. Bhavika is very demanding. She's been very graceful about this, but she wanted everything, all the best practices, whether it was a forest school or charter school or Japanese. Why is Singapore doing so well? Why is UK doing? We've brought in all of that. So little like Neha, you said, right? There's the Iron Lady, Dr. Swati Popat Vats, who's spearheading a lot of initiative. Progressive thoughts and ideologies. I will say that Aptech International Preschool will make her proud, because it has elements of future. It has elements of technology. It is a technology company. So her passion project coding is there, but they're doing it age appropriate. So basically, the head start that you spoke about, Neha, my worry is these young mothers. Sab kuch chahiye. Cricket bhi Virat Kohli ki tarah khelna hai. If you are tennis, you have to be like a Sania Mirza. If you want to play football, you have to be Ronaldo. Sorry, that is all sport, and sport, is sport. I'm a sportsman's wife, by the way. He has a successful career. Then you have coding. So now, we know what is happening with advertising, right? Yeah. Coding to karna hi hai. So that is also done. Then he has to speak well. He has to dance. He has to play a musical instrument. She. I want to be gender neutral here. Everything the child will do at 3. It is not possible. Live the childhood. So age appropriately. You can't be somersaulting at age 3. If that child is doing it, that's extraordinary talent. But don't put pressure on me. I have still never somersaulted in my life. So some children are different, and I think the differentiation and personalization is the key. It's what Swati Popat speaks about. Neha, I know you have twins. Both of them are very different, yet very similar. But the customization works for you as a mom. Sorry, Bhavika, I had to interrupt. And again, I have jeopardized this conversation.
No. I totally vouch for it. And in fact, that's the reason I said that, see, Fatima is your biggest USP. When you say that Fatima has contributed to your whatever research and curriculum you've developed. I think that itself is a great, right tick for me, because I've been watching people like Fatima, Swati ma'am from a parent's point of view, never from an educator's point of view. So she knows, Fatima knows, Swati ma'am knows that I have my set of arguments when it comes to voicing from my parents, clan. And Fatima knows on my community also, I at times go otherwise. Like, I don't favor educators, I go otherwise. But when they give me a very logical reason, we have a discussion around it, then I understand where is it coming from. And I think all the parents today have to really understand every situation from both the perspective. Like when Fatima rightly said that, भाई बच्चों को भेजे जा रहे हो तुम क्लास में, तुमने किए इतने क्लास, तुमको क्या क्या आता है? Ask yourself, what are you good at? You, like Fatima and I admit, we don't know even how to bake a good decent cake, which I think my friend would have given me easiest recipe 20 times, but I still cannot crack it. That doesn't make me any less. So why do I want my kid? Why am I living my life through them? Dude, you can still live your life. You have more years to go. Please live it, make it more meaningful. So yeah, I'm sorry again, Fatima, and I jumped in and took your question away. से अगली बार से मैं इनके मॉडरेशन में नहीं आऊंगी.
No, definitely we're enjoying this. I'm sure the parents are having a ball of it.
Absolutely.
And as you very rightly said, today a lot of things we don't know. And how can we expect that child to know everything? Fatima, you touched upon a very right point. I have struggled through that phase. Because of a working mom, I could not take my child to every other class. So a lot of compromise had to be made, because you don't have that luxury to hip hop from here to this, dance bhi karo, ye bhi karo, everything to be done. But let me admit that of course when we met, the idea for it had to be child centric, Neha, for us. That comes first to me. Of course, there is business aspect. There are partners. We have franchise network across the country. Everybody is into business, but then this particular segment, let me put it across. Everybody whom I meet and I talk. Firstly, it is in the it's about teaching a child, and at a very vulnerable age, where it lives, the personality develops during that age group. That's when I said, when I read a lot about this particular segment, the entire whatever we do, and a child takes as a teacher as a next to a god. I mean, in fact, for that child, it is God. Teacher is God. So whatever the teacher says, we've experienced. My first teacher, my child's first teacher, no, my teacher said this. This is the correct thing. You are wrong. They come home with those kind of things. So as I said, we wanted emotional balance to be there. That's all I've always spoken to Fatima. How is the Finnish schools doing so well? How the children are able to cope up stress, and especially in a country like India where grades do matter, still matters. It's not going out of our system that in 10th grade, if you are an ICSE child, I went through it last year. I was telling my child, भैया 90 क्रॉस कर लेना, मेरे लिए इज्जत रख लेना. Because that is something, if you're an ICS, you're not scoring beyond 90. Oh Lord, what kind of a mom you've been? You've been so successful in your career, but look at your child. So grades are definitely going to matter. There is a tremendous stress in terms of academics, be it sports, be it music, be it any other skill, be it coding, which is the new buzzword today across the kind of advertisements that you're seeing. So then how do I prepare a child who has to go through this kind of a situation in India? Because we are in India, let's accept that. It probably will be another 10 years that we will come out of that rat race of scoring 90. I don't know, sooner the better.
Nahi jayega. Southeast Asian culture, I mean, there's studies and research established one thing: we are always going to be about performance. But Neha, the performance can still be achieved. You don't have to be unhappy about it. That's the point. So, I have to just jump in and share this statistic out with you, because this is interesting. Neha, you'll be excited about it as well. So there is a committee for children, which was established in 1979. It's a US-based organization, non-for-profit, that only concentrates, Neha, on creating research around SEL. So they work with over 20.5 million people across the world. Unfortunately, I'm going to say that Indians don't do enough research. I think that path has started with the pandemic, but I'm going to quote a US study. What was interesting is, and Bhavika, the point you made, ICSE 90% is every parent's goal. I will not say that if my child gets 0, I am going to celebrate by baking a cake. That is not going to happen. It's not normal. I mean, you have to worry. 0 out of 100. I mean, you have to have some contribution. So we are never going to be a community of like-minded, well-meaning parents who are going to accept that. Let's accept that's never going to go. But with SEL, that academic performance, because they've researched, goes up 25%. 79% success in achieving it independently. Bhavika, you don't have to take a year off. I have had mothers, some really top private equity and hedge fund owners who've taken a year off because their kids are taking ICSE exams. I laughed and she said, stop laughing because your child is not in grade 10. I said, come on, if an educated mom is going to do that. She said, no, I have to be there. No, I have to wake him up. I have to make him study. What about him? So SEL actually creates 79% independence in the success. By that, now all parents are thinking, now I want to check whether this school has SEL in the curriculum.
Of course, I'll add on to what Fatima said. In yesterday's Times of India, you can read it that we are the most depressed country in the world. This year's research states that 82% of Indians, because of course we know because of this tough time we are all in, 82% of the Indians are depressed today. And imagine it has a very large percentage of kids there. So when we are talking about social emotional learning, depression, somewhere the seeding in happening because they don't know how to manage their emotions, so they are succumbing to depression. Primarily, of course, depression is a stage we should all accept. People go through mental health and it's quite an acceptance scenario today. But if you look at the seed behind it, it's about a parent who has never thought of helping the kid manage the emotions well. And when we are talking about performance, Fatima knows about it, Bhavika, and I'll again voice it out publicly. All my friends know my boys are toppers in their class, but till date I've never ever asked them what exactly is your studies, how is it going, how can I help you. Till the time they come and ask me for help, because I know they're independent and I always see them putting in efforts. My eyes are on them only in terms of efforts. I always say celebrate efforts, not marks. If my boys were studying for late hours and their result is not as what we all expected, it's not their fault, dude. It's something which maybe the curriculum was changed, maybe the paper was hard, the educator gave a very different thing, or maybe my child never understood where, in what direction the efforts were made. But overall, as a parent, I should celebrate that effort making. A lot of my friends, kids, they don't put in efforts. Then there's a line which has to be drawn, and there has to be a conversation which has to happen with kids, especially grown-up kids. Otherwise, just look at it that they are making effort. Like when they are in the early years, I always saw to it that they are coming home, getting fresh, getting some playtime, and after that they are finishing their studies. So I was just keeping an eye on their homeworks done on time. They've never missed their school even a single day. All the preschool teachers will tell you they're all in touch with me today. Not even a single day, dude. So how are we making these kind of foundations right is what replicates later. Today I'm proud of my boys because they are bothered about their efforts. They're competing with each other, they're competing with themselves. That's important, So I think I echo what Fatima is saying, that today, overall, and Bhavika, I'll come to you because, in all three answers you gave, you mentioned very subtly that how you admit that you were going through that stress, that phase, which is very courageous of you to do. Not many mothers accept it. It's a self-inflicted guilt. Don't try to put it on others, like how Bhavika gracefully and courageously said, dude, I was going wrong and now I know it and I've corrected it. Everyone can do these kind of mistakes, but everyone can go back and correct it and accept it. Bhavika, there's nothing called bacche ko alag alag class mein dalna. Nobody is measuring kids, The irony of parenting is that we are measuring ourselves. We put ourselves on a super mom myth. When people put my introduction as a super mom, I always get it erased because I'm not a super mom. I'm just a happy mom. And I will appeal all the mothers who are watching me, try to be a happy mom, dude. Even if it's taking a break and going out all your own and keeping your kids at home. Don't have that guilt coming to your head, because if that self-inflicted guilt is knocking on your door, you can never be a good mother. And one day your kid will tell you that on your face that, Mama, you're not a good mom. And that'll be a real...
Yeah, I second it. There are a lot of people who say that you can be successful at everything and nothing takes a backseat. I have a difference of opinion there. Something definitely takes a backseat, because you can't give everything the same, kind of an attention or importance for that matter. And
Not even
precisely for
fair. It's not even fair. You know, people
yeah,
take pride in saying I multitask. And I tell them, dude, to go to a neuroscientist, they'll tell you multitasking in a brain is a brain disorder. It's brain,
It is a
they call
disorder.
it brain toggling.
Yeah.
Why are you wanting, like Fatima, and I know about her workplace. She's quite an enthusiastic, ambitious career woman, also successful there. Wife of a very successful, again, a very successful person who's still active in his endeavors.
yeah.
A teenage boy who's doing good for him. So look at this woman balancing it, everything. She's not multitasking. She's just 100% where she is. So when I'm at my office, I'm 100%. Then that's the way you are productive. So I agree with you, Bhavika.
One person we need to thank, I'm sure, in common is the husband.
Yeah, absolutely. Bichara, they get left behind. But Neha and Bhavika, I think the importance is about self-discipline. So
True.
SEL, a very core part of it is about self-discipline. We forget that we have to train our children. See, some have the natural ability to understand how to do it, but a large part of the children need direction. So SEL gives you that self-discipline. Like Neha said, her boys independently do it. Like Neha, I do not even look at my child's grade book. He finished yesterday. The email has come. I still haven't looked at it because I asked him how the year was. He looked at me and said, "You may not like some parts. You'll be very happy with some parts of it." I know what he's not, where the effort wasn't. And I also know where limited effort got him because he naturally has the skill. Am I a happy mom? I'm a super happy mom, guys. I haven't seen the grade book yet. So the point is about self-discipline. So this, if you can teach earlier on with SEL at home, in school, the children regulate emotions, balance, figure out where they need to push, where they need to pull back, what they need to do, solve their own problems. Thank God, then you won't have to take a year off to make sure the child does well. I don't know how many parents are going to say, yes, I agree with you. But I am going to say that if you think like that from now, you will be in a happier space. Like Neha pointed out, she's not a super mom, but she's a super happy mom.
No, very well said, Fatima. And also, for the fact that, being running a preschool chain, and, somewhere not every mother has the facility, or, maybe, there are limitations, could be anything for that matter. And that's the reason, I guess, when we spoke, we felt there is a need to bring in this life skills into children, having so that they become socially very strong. They have that EQ that we keep talking about more than the IQ. IQ definitely will come. There are 100 teachers in his lifespan who will cross his path or her path, and they will bring that IQ level. But the EQ level is something which is very strong, which we tried, and somewhere we tried and wove it around the entire pedagogy, the curriculum, with the help of Fatima. And I'm sure, I guess, the children within the school from this year onwards will have far more understanding, and rather they'll be more adaptive to these challenges which are set ahead for them in the growing up years, right? Yes, Isha. Isha, can we take a poll maybe right now before we move on to the next segment?
Absolutely, Bhavika. Let's take a poll.
Yeah.
So now let's have our first poll. Requesting the audience to participate in the poll. In this poll, we would like to know what are the top 3 skills that you hope that your child picks up with the preschool education. So there are options given, that is language and math, confidence, patience, tolerance, and sports. So this poll will be for 2 minutes, and after 2 minutes it will be closed. Can we see
Okay.
that on the screen? Yes, Bhavika.
No, I was just trying to read out. You've read out the question, right?
Yeah.
Okay. will we display the result right away, Isha?
Results will be seen on the screen, Bhavika. So I think all of us will be able to see the results here.
Great. So once we see the poll, then we can also have Neha and Fatima telling what are their choice of skills that they think are very important. Okay, let's display. Language and math is 3%, confidence is 57%, patience 16%, tolerance and sports is 5%. Fatima, that's going to make us angry. Little upset, right? No, angry is not the right word. Little upset. Okay. So your take, Fatima, on this?
90%, Bhavika.
Sorry?
Thanks. So Bhavika, I think it's important to emphasize that the skills that parents should be
Can you
thinking
close that
about
window, Isha? What is happening?
should be, yeah.
Yeah, Bhavika, tolerance, I think the people have, I think 19% of them have, put
Yeah.
tolerance
And
as their
sports is
vote.
right? Yeah, this we can
Yeah,
see. So if
sports
you
is
close the
pushed.
window, yeah, we come back
Yeah.
to the screen.
Yeah, sure.
Thanks. So Bhavika, I think, and Neha, I think you'll agree with me that I think parents need to understand when we're asking about skills, subjects like English, math, science, etc., are not skills. Skills are like your DNA. Think of it like essentials. Okay. In the pandemic, I'm just going to simplify this. In the pandemic, if you didn't have a fancy pizza sauce, if you did not have truffle oil for your salad, if you did not have the Thousand Island sauce for your salad, all the ready-made stuff, you still manage to eat. Skills are that essential, that survival toolbox that your child needs. And parents, if you are rating academics and you're rating other things ahead of tolerance, for me, number one is tolerance. Then comes patience, because if you are tolerant, you will learn to be respectful, you'll be mindful, you'll be patient automatically because you learn to listen to someone's point of view. God knows we've heard a lot in the last 15 months, politically, economically, medically, educationally, we've heard so much. Everybody who has a smart device has an opinion today, like Neha pointed out. Is it the right opinion? And did they think twice before exercising it? Because once a word is spoken, taking it back, and I think many precedents will vouch for this. Very difficult to take that back. Tolerance, patience, confidence. Guys, you all have voted confidence ahead of tolerance and patience. Just if you can trust me, I've been in education for 20 years. I'm a parent of a 15-year-old. Confidence comes if they have the basic humility, if they have tolerance and patience. Confidence doesn't mean someone will come on the screen and set the stage on fire. I will never be able to do that. But because I've learned over the years to be tolerant, open-minded, listen to others, be patient, not always have my point of view, winning, I have learned to exude subtle confidence. For me, that comes third. I would hope sport came somewhere closer than 5%. I'm going to speak to Ajit about it. We're running in this academy a lot more. Bring sport in. Sport actually combines all these life skills. Academics will teach you knowledge. IBM has this, Carnegie Mellon is a top university, has this beautiful statistic. 85% is skills, patience, tolerance, confidence. 15% is the technical knowledge, which, by the way, you spoke about, which is language and math. Think about it. Sport has all of this. And hey, listen, we hope to win the world championship. By the way, you watch sport. You know what? Maybe your children will have the benefit of learning skills if they play the sport.
True. I mean, very well said, Fatima. It needs to be today, a child has to be, everything has to be done in the right proportions, in the right manner. Okay, that is what makes the entire difference. And we've tried to bring that in our curriculum in a strong manner, whereby we've tried to include life skills, we've tried to include the 21st century skills, the 6 C's that everybody keeps talking about. We have STEAM.
Bhavika, it's not a separate subject. Neha, you'll be really impressed. It's part of a language. It's part
Yeah.
of numeracy. It's
Oh.
part. It's not a separate subject. It is embedded in every subject. There's sport in numeracy as well. So it's
And I
subtly
think otherwise it should be embedded. Otherwise, looking at the poll result, I feel the parents will never choose it.
So that was one of the things that
it's
felt,
there.
yeah, it should not be STEAM or STEM as they call it. We wanted it with an S, because
S.
sports cannot be taken out. That's much needed. I mean, we all know about it, that today also when a child is studying, they actually tell, even in your +2 or in your board exams, the teachers do recommend that go out and play for 1 hour. Whatever sport you like, you need to do along with your academic studies. It gives a lot of ability,
Confidence.
discipline making, confidence, working in a team. So that is, all those things are inherited when you start very early in a life. That's where a child has to be exposed to all these things, just not the philosophies, just not the regios of the world or multiple intelligence of the world is only the important thing in a child's learning area, right? There are a lot of other soft skills, other softer parameters which are needed for that child. When the child comes to us, and the child is only for 2.5 with us, in that 2.5 hours, you have to, have all these things done in a very smart manner, in a very age appropriate manner, which is very, developmentally inclined towards that child. That's what we've tried and achieved this year, that be it, whichever corner of the country, we are culturally so diverse, and then to have a similar kind of a structure, and not, enforce a particular methodology to every child. Each child is unique, and this particular curriculum, which is so strong a social, intelligent quotient as well as social quotient, we've tried to bring in that every child is a center stage, and the teacher will follow as per the child's developmental goals and as per the child's learning pace, and all these things will be, is woven so beautifully, be it whichever city in the country today that we belong to, we'll try and bring those things in the curriculum today.
No, and Bhavika, when you're talking about the country, I need to go back to what Fatima was talking about. The first result, as per me, also has to be tolerance, because here we are not talking about every individual. Because see, being tolerant, of course, will help you individually also. It will help you remove your, self-imposed barriers, if any. It will allow you to think more broadly. But for a country, because we are talking about social, man is a social animal. When individuals become accepting, when they become more tolerating, when they develop more tolerance, the entire society benefits. Because tolerance can only create a society in which every person can feel valued, every person can feel respected. If you look at all other, answers of the poll, they are very individualistic. Tolerance is the only trait among all of them which can help you. Of course, confidence is great. If I have more confidence, I'll be able to speak anywhere and everywhere, represent my point. But if my point is not coming from a point of tolerance, my point is not valued for the society. It's not respected anymore. So I think tolerance for a nation begins at an individual level. So right now, maybe parents have to revisit their thoughts of, doing the poll again and thinking tolerance as a key area. Yeah.
Neha, let's test them out. Let's see what they do. Maybe in your next webinar.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yes, Isha,
And
what
if
is
you
next?
love me and Fatima, please, you know which one to.
Thank you so much. I mean, this is getting really interesting as and when we are going question on question. Thank you so much to Fatima ma'am, Neha ma'am, and Bhavika. There's one question, even me being a mother of a preschooler, there's one question that is going on in every parent's mind who is having a preschool child in their house. So, most of us parents with preschool children are overwhelmed with online learning and believe that early years in the long run don't really matter. your thoughts. I would want to know all you three's thoughts on this. Yes.
Isha, you forgot to give instruction who goes first. Otherwise, we'll be talking and it'll become like the 9 o'clock
Fatima
debate.
ma'am,
where
if you
nobody
could address. Yes, if you could address to this, Fatima ma'am.
Because yeah,
Please.
being an educator, and then I guess we go to Neha because I'm sure she would have come across those
Of
queries
course.
through
Yes,
her platform.
Okay, so Isha, kudos on the question, by the way. This is another $1 million question. I'm going to try and put it in perspective in two ways, as an educator and, as a parent as well. Early years, there's a lot of research and science behind this. When I say top universities, whether it's Stanford or Harvard or Oxford, they have over the years built a very strong case that comes from scientific evidence. That means research. That means they've looked at countries and determined which countries are progressing and which nations have children more successful. And the start for all these nations is in early childhood education. In 2020, we declared the national education policy, the revised national education policy. For the first time in this country, early childhood education is now part of the Ministry of Education. Please understand, by that single stroke, if I had to be, in a courtroom, I would say I'd rest my case. If your central government is now saying we are aligning with what the world is doing, that means they're attaching a lot of importance to early childhood education that goes up to grade 2 now, simply because they've seen errors in primary, in middle, in high school, in our country. This cascading effect, can you start a car, Isha, from as soon as you sit in, you put it in gear 4, आपकी गाड़ी चलेगी ही नहीं. लेकिन what we want to do is primary में भगाओ, but you have not started in the right way. How will that child be? The child is only coping. Now, when parents ask me this question, Arey Fatima, what will 3, 4, 5-year-olds do? We do anyway so much at home. Whole day we are talking, whole day we're sitting out of the window and looking outside. I said, you are looking outside the window, not knowing what to do with that information. Because somewhere in social media you read, look out of the window, it's important for the child to do nothing. But did you talk to the child? Did you say, what shape is that? Hey, listen, it's raining, but what, can you actually see the raindrops? Why are you drawing it? How we do this, the raindrop has one particular shape. Why can't raindrops be straight lines? That's all you see when rain is falling down. You are not able to do this because this has to be handled by a trained hand. You start talking about blue as aquamarine because someone, you read that 4-year-old used aquamarine for blue. मेरे बच्चे को भी aquamarine, I'm by the way wearing aquamarine. You can't see it with this light, but it's aquamarine. But if a 4-year-old comes and tells me aquamarine, I'd be scared. How can a 4-year-old know that? So age appropriately, you're not passing on information. Therefore, early childhood education, when managed in a structured environment, you don't have to talk for 10 hours that your child is awake. The child only needs direction for a particular period of time because that is the child's attention span. Handled by an expert who's trained with child psychology, handling content at an age appropriate level, more importantly, using leading questions to get your child thinking. What you are doing is transferring information onto the child and getting the child to memorize. When a parent tells me A to Z, my child to knows, patapat bol deta hai. A, B, C, D. I said, award de dena chahiye. Will the child learn to read with knowing A to Z? My son never was able to say A, B, C, D in a sequence manner, never. And I was okay with it, simply because reading was not about learning it in sequences. Reading was about sounds. Usme confusion hai, so many phonic programs. Which phonic program should I go? Go with what your school is doing and stick to it. The problem is after that, child is going into another class. Now I'm going to ask you, Bhavika, A, for you it sounds the same. You're saying A only, no? Ow, there's the same thing. The school has taught soft sound, A, because that soft sound will combine with another soft sound and make a word. Now,
Make a
parents
word.
at home, you will not be able to do it. Once, you will lack patience. You will start dictating as opposed to facilitating, which happens in preschools, therefore trained hands. Those parents who think last year, and I have spoken to a lot of parents last Saturday, I had lawyers, bankers, all fathers grilling me last Saturday, saying, Fatima, you know what, we don't think investment, like you pointed out, investment is important. Are yaar, we can do it. This happened, huh? So these were the same parents who let it go, thinking not a big deal. They've come back and said, big regret, Fatima. We should have listened to you a year back. We are here because now tell us what to do. Tell us how to do it, because we realized it was a year wasted. Stanford and Oxford have published information that online learning is active engagement, is not watching cartoons. So for 1 hour of 40 minutes that is now being allowed by state and central governments, it's important for children to be outside of the cocoon of their family members and engage with a Bhavika or a Neha or an Isha, because it is social skills. It's learning to listen to a different sound, learning. So much goes into it. Early childhood education is tougher, and I know primary teachers and middle and high school teachers are going to go up in arms than it is to teach a middle schooler, because you are setting direction, and when you are setting direction, you have to work harder. Please attach importance to it. Like Neha beautifully pointed out, don't think selfishly.
All okay?
Yes, just give me a second. Don't think selfishly. I'm just going to continue talking because there's a problem. Something else has come up. Think about it from a nation's point of view. And we in India need parent support to understand the importance of early childhood education. And Isha, you can continue. I'll just try to get back.
Yeah. Neha, I'm sure a lot of parents would have touched base with you, the concern being the same that, I mean, a lot has been spoken about screen time. They're already watching TV, and then, putting them in front of the laptop or the mobile phone. And what a 2-year-old is going to do in front of he's hardly going to see into the screen. So a lot of these concerns, I'm sure, would have come to you. What is your take, and how would you advise these young mothers? Because there's too much happening about it. There's a segment who says that it's not really important, whereas, as a mother, I'm sure many mothers that I spoke, they do feel that it is really important today, because these are the evolved moms. They are well read, unlike what I was at that time, right? So, yeah, Neha, to you.
Yeah, thank you, Bhavika. I think, you and Fatima somewhere have established that importance of, social emotional learning, because you're integrating, you're living it by including it in your curriculum, in your school. So I think you guys really value it, and that's why you put it in there. So now, from a parenting perspective, I would like to give a formula to all the mothers so that they'll remember it better. There are 3R technique, which helps you, really stay on the path of SEL, social emotional learning. The first R is reassurance. Now, reassurance to a small little young kid, to a teenager, to any grown up adult, everybody needs reassurance. Reassurance of safety, that, the environment around them is safe for them to thrive. Reassurance that, their loved ones are around them whenever they are, they want to depend on them or rely on them. Reassurance of their own self-worth. Like being a manifestation coach, I always talk about what is happening inside you. What happens inside you, when beautiful things happen inside you, beautiful things starts happening outside you. So it's very important to reassure your child about it. Catch your child being good. Praise your child for even small little tasks. Like Isha, you are a young mother. I'm sure you're doing it. I'm just, speaking for the larger mass of the same age group. Isha doesn't even look like a mom. Catch child being good. Whenever they are helping you pick up their toys, when they're helping their brothers, sisters, when they are helping their siblings study by not interrupting their, waiting for their turn, small little things. catch them that time, praise them often, let them hear the words of praise. Of course, they might not notice it, or you might not feel that they are noticing it, but it is going in their subconscious brain. I always talk about money story, though it's not related to the topic here, that your money story is formed in your childhood. All your money stories are formed in your childhood. It doesn't matter what is your financial situation today. It's all getting impacted because of the money story you've created in past. Looking at very successful people who have become like the millionaires of the world have gone to rags again because of their money story. So similarly, your childhood is so impactful for your social emotional stories also, that like talk about a girl who has been touched inappropriately in a young year. She will never come out of that trauma. Like I'm speaking on a forum in this week where we are talking about child abuse, and there this impact of childhood stays forever. Similarly, when you're catching your child and reassuring them of being good, they will always remember it. They'll always grow up in a more I would say more secure adult, more secure adult when they are reassured. The second R for me, what has worked and also I've learned in my EQI session, is routines, which I think Fatima also touched upon when she said self-discipline. When I was talking about core competencies, 5 core competencies, I talked about self-management. Now, what is self-management? It's about self-discipline. But when it comes to managing the kids, are you putting them in a routine even during pandemic? Are you really managing the meal time and the sleep time? These are the two primary routine which a parent can really manage well. Because otherwise, तो online class होगा तो वो बैठ ही जाएगा, teacher पूछ ही लेगी, सब कुछ हो जाएगा. But are you managing their meal time routine? Are you managing their bedtime routine? This is where you subtly, very softly plug, discipline in a time where they are not going out of house. Also, they're not going to school. So this is how disciplines are inculcated. The third R, which is very very important, and we all miss on to, is it's regulation. Regulation is it's little deeper. Help your kids understand, help them understand how to manage their emotions. It's okay to it's okay to show emotions. It's okay to get angry. It's okay to fit a tantrum. It's okay to throw a tantrum. It's okay to feel irritated. At times you want to go out, your parents are not wanting to go out. It's okay to have those emotions. Just teach them how to manage it. Regulation will help them manage the emotions well. How can we manage it well? Like a lot of young mothers, Isha, I'm sure you'll agree that when bacha theek se behave nahi karta, you have a timeout kind of a thing, that we are not talking to each other for so much time. It's a beautiful way of, telling them that because you've done something which is not acceptable, I am behaving in a certain manner. When daddy and I have an argument, it's not a fight. You have to make them understand what exactly is this emotion, how to express this emotion, and then how to manage it well. So R of regulation helps you manage that. Maybe a kid will be happy, listening to some good music and get into a better mood. Looking at a comedy show, maybe the entire family can bond again. What is your idea of it? Some people go very deep. They try to put kids also to meditation. If your kids do it, wonderful. Mine never did, and now of course they are getting into it. Are they becoming mindful? Some kids love to read. Send them to their reading zone when they're trying to regulate the emotions. What is your stress response system? Like in the adult language, of course we are talking about pedagogy, so I was not talking about it, but as an adult, when they come to me, I talk about stress response system. Everyone has their own stress response system. Don't try to think कि भाई मैं as a mother अगर ऐसे response करती हूँ तो मेरा बच्चा भी वैसे ही करेगा. He or she is a very different individual. Like as Fatima said, my twin boys are very different. They are fraternal twins, obviously, but they are twins and still they have a very different personality of their own. One is a extreme extrovert, the other one is extreme introvert, and I'm okay with it. I'm rearing them differently with the same parenting tactic. That's the beauty of parenting. So I think these 3 R's, the reassurance, the routines, the regulation, these 3 R's are the formulae what we can integrate very well, what Fatima taught us about it, what Bhavika was talking as a mother. I think these 3 R's can keep us and our kids in sanity.
Yeah.
Thanks,
And Isha, to answer your question, I think it also has to do with mindset. I mean, I think Neha has walked parents through how to manage it, but I think bottom line is it's the mindset. If you are going to be dismissive about this year, kuch nahi hoga, sab theek hai, we can manage. We didn't think the second wave would hit us. We are now preparing ourselves for the third wave because we are scared. So it is going to be locked down for a large period of time, which means online might be here to stay, especially for the little ones, right? It's about how you treat online. If you give it respect, your child will give it respect. It's about embracing it to say, at least my child is learning with the best possible option available in the safety of my house. If you start talking at home saying, यार मैं तो पैसा दे रहा हूँ, पता नहीं क्या करते हैं, बीवी ने बोला तो मैंने तो दे दिया, and these are the comments I've heard. I'm not being disrespectful, I'm just being very honest, because I think it's about time we address the elephant in the room. There's no need to hide. This is being discussed. Please think, mother and father, you're equally responsible. This is your child. If that foundation is like this building where the piling work is not being done well, the building will fall. And if you feel that no learning is okay for a period of time, that building will be tilted. Not because it's the Leaning Tower of Pisa, but because the foundation is wrong. So remember, attitude to online learning.
I'll add on to one line to your thing because it's very relevant to what you said. Because see, on my community also, Fatima, you have read a lot of parents talk
Yes.
about this thread when it was like the fees payment, when younger kids, enrolling in the schools, and I will say that when we say, we call it 0 year. Now, 0 year cannot be 0 year of learning ever. You can never go without learning. So your kid will learn in spite of a school or an educator coming to them on online or not coming to them. What are they learning is crucial. Now they will learn. They can, like all of us are discussing that they are young minds. What are they absorbing? I'm sure, like I was a working mother. I never had so much time that I can sit with two boys and, make sure that every little thing I can teach them what maybe an educator can do much better because it's her profile. Second, she's an expert in that space. She can be more tolerant. She can be more patient. She has more confidence. And she knows your math, science, English also. So all your poll options are ticked there, guys. And with us, maybe it's not. At times I've seen, parents lose their, temper when they're teaching young children. Is it okay? So what is your kid learning from you is doing them more damage is sitting at home when you're not putting them to a right educator. So I think you have to understand there's nothing called zero learning. The kid will learn. Now, what the kid is learning, you have to ask yourself. Yeah, so I was just adding on to what Fatima said.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Isha, would you like to
Thank
take
you
a
so
question
much.
from the audience now?
Yes, yes. So, requesting all the attendees, if you have any queries, any questions, please put it on the chat. We could at least attempt to question at least 2 from there. So, yeah.
Yeah, meanwhile, I guess, Isha, when they type out their questions, I just add to what Neha said. Neha, we had, I would firstly thank the teachers, all the teachers across the country, because the kind of efforts they took, the houses got exposed because of thanks to Zoom, right? And people were critical, the older students were critical of various nasty statements or nasty discussions about the teacher. But when it came to especially the preschoolers, the teachers had a huge daunting task on them because from the we tried making video calls in the mornings, wake up the child, say good morning. Every teacher personally called up a child and would encourage the child to come have a session. So it started in somewhere in March. Now I guess they're all happy. Eventually when I started talking to the mothers, it's like my child wakes me up at 9 and like, mommy, get me dressed up, it is school time. Okay. And the mothers, the efforts that they took, there was, I guess I came across a picture somewhere during Gandhi Jayanti, 2nd October last year, and maybe during Dasera or somebody. The mother had dressed up the child in spite of that lockdown scenario in a Gandhi attire, with this mustache and everything. I mean, I was like, gosh, I have not done so much efforts in a regular schooling days for my son. And look at these mothers. They are dressing the child as Radha, Krishna, every festival that we celebrated, and the child were ready. They were on screen with such attire. And it's like 2.5 year old. So that's one extreme of the spectrum. And the other extreme is that it's okay to give a miss.
But Bhavika, let's go a little more behind. More than teachers and parents who have always been celebrated, it's also the institutions, like academic institutions, who have adapted to this change so fast. Because the time when, the first wave hit us and everybody was like clueless, the way you guys trained your teachers to come online and adapt, there were many teachers who have never gone on a Zoom. Yeah, they learned everything there, and how fast and seamless. Yeah,
They don't have
I think
laptop. They've not ever operated a computer.
I know. So let's also pay kudos to these institutions because not many, like a lot of people come to me and they say भाई हम fees नहीं pay कर रहे, schools बंद हो रहे हैं. पर कौन से school बंद हो रहे हैं? वही school बंद हो रहे हैं जिन्होंने change को adapt नहीं किया. तो sorry आप बंद हो रहे हो हमारे कारण नहीं, आप बंद हो रहे हो क्योंकि आप change के साथ आगे नहीं बढ़े. तो आज भी अगर parents happy हैं तो इसीलिए happy हैं because our schools have taken that effort. See, everything is changing. I cannot put my kid to a school which is still to begin online classes or get into a structured learning. I have to change. I have to adapt to someone who is growing with me. So it's of course it's a crude fact that we have to tell all the preschool owners also change with the changing time, and we'll be happy to put our kids there. You know?
And fees was
Bhavika, what I loved is, because we're talking about SEL, I love the fact that some of the children are touching the screen because in the physical world, they would have got their teachers' hugs and they just wanted to see, what the teacher did? She tied her hair up and she said, okay, now I'm giving this and I'm giving this. I need it in both. And she turned that session, Neha, into a language class. She said, what does my cheek feel like? So one said very soft, one said very hard. The other one said, I can't feel. She got them into expressing themselves. She had a lesson plan. She still covered the topic, Neha, but she didn't do it in the way because she realized her children on that day just wanted to bond. It narrated a story. Through the story, she wove in math, science, coding bhi aa gaya because it was about sequencing, everything. And she played a game. She said, let's do hop, skip, and jump. Kids loved it. I think that was the best session. The adaptability of the teachers. And Neha, you pointed it out. Which schools, progressive schools, futuristic schools have had no problem. Parents have actually said, can we help? We'll become guest lecturers. Can we donate? We have this. For the teachers because we can see her struggling. I know of parents who've sent lights home to the teachers because she was in lockdown and it was not possible to be delivered. I mean, that's the kind of relationship you have to have. It is 50-50 parents. It is 50% you, it's 50% teachers. And this is, by the way, the Stanford statistic for successful children. 50-50 partnership.
Yeah, it
Fatima,
has to be.
I think we need a different panel discussion altogether, like a day long.
Yeah, Isha, you have the question ready? You're on mute, Isha.
Yes, Bhavika. Yes. So there's one parent who is, has asked that there is too much stress and management involved to get kids to understand online learning, to understand learning online. So what are your advice to the parents for this? So I would direct this to Fatima ma'am.
Sure. Now, depending on whether it's a 2.5-year-old, 3-year-old, 4-year-old, 5-year-old, but I think the importance is to identify the root problem. Is it because the child has not slept enough? Is it because the child has not eaten enough, rested enough? Is it because you are not able to sit with the child initially, not continuous? Because there's every evidence that we have, and we audit a lot of schools as well. A lot of parents who have been consistent. Remember, when we were potty training as well, I always remember the 3-day rule. 3 days consistent, 4-day success. It is the golden rule. Just do that for 3 days. It is impossible, and I'm saying this with a lot of confidence. I've had mothers who don't speak a word of English. They don't understand anything that the teacher is speaking in English. But because the instructions were, child needs to sleep for 12 hours. By the way, check if your child is sleeping for 12 hours. Wake the child up 1 hour before. Bathe the child. Feed the child. Let the child sit independently in front of the screen. Switch it on. Don't sit with the child in the lap and then tell the teacher, sunai nahi de raha hai. You are only engaging with the children. Sit separately. The child automatically learns. If it's not possible in 3 days, 5 days, guaranteed success. So don't take stress. If you are not able to cope after 5 days, simply connect with the teacher. Let the teacher, like Bhavika said, get on a voice call with the teacher. Let her engage with your child. You don't have to take the stress, Neha said. That's the teacher's responsibility. You have to convey your problem. The problem really was, Isha, a lot of the parents, and if the parent is listening to me, did not articulate this to the school. The progressive schools, the schools that have done really well, have had separate sessions for this child, because this child was getting lost looking at 20 other faces. So the teacher did a one-on-one, then eased her into this little girl into a group of 5, then started with 10. Finally, that kid successfully integrated with 30. By the way, in the physical world also, we do the same thing. It's called the settling period. We've had kids who've cried. My son, 3 months. Educator's child, 3 months. Mama was sitting outside the class waiting till he stops crying because all he wanted to see is mother. 3 months. Did I get petrified that I'm the educator and I'm advising parents and my child is only crying? No, that was my child. My child needed more time. Your child might need more time online. Don't judge. Engage with the teacher. The teacher has solutions. This has been successfully handled. Stop taking stress. You start putting routines. You sit calmly. You sit far away from the child. Okay? Let the child doesn't understand, give instructions from there. I am telling you, 3, 4, 5-year-olds are smarter than we are. If I have to get technology help, it is my 15-year-old, because he's like, Mama, Google Drive. It is, you can't keep loading it on, you can't keep saving separate documents. I'm okay. Like that, the 4-year-old has changed the screen name to superhero from the mother's name, from the 4-year-old. Please tell me, how is that possible? Because they've adapted. Children have higher resilience and adaptability than adults do. It's a scientific fact. Don't fight it, embrace it, engage with your school. Remember 3-day. If it doesn't work 5-day, then remember Fatima 3 months. It'll happen. But be consistent. You won't have 3 months. The kids are smarter. Definitely this generation is.
I'll just add, Fatima, thank you so much. I guess it's the parents' expectation at times, I feel, is too much. That, a 2-year-old is supposed to sit like a 10-year-old or a 15-year-old in front of a laptop. It's not possible. It's not possible in the offline school also. In the classroom, when the teacher is doing an activity or is doing a particular, play with them, the child, not necessarily every child is looking into the eyes of the teacher and, like this, looking at her.
Some are sleeping, some are lying down.
But their ears are open.
They're listening.
That's what we tell the parents, I guess, leave the machine on, leave the laptop on, whatever device your child is in front of, but follow a discipline. As you very rightly said, Fatima, there has to be a discipline. Leave the child. Initial days, yeah, you will have to, maneuver the child, explain, because it's too small a child. But later on, leave the child there. Not necessarily by looking at the screen, the child is, only listen. Only then the child is able to understand. No, there are listening skills, right? And that is what needs to be followed, and which we try and do that a lot of times, as you very rightly said, at our end also. The teacher, then when she observes that this particular child is not always there's something amiss. So then we try and connect separately with those parents, with the child together, but encourage the child to be there. These children, they look forward for these sessions because that's the only means of seeing somebody. When they say that lockdown hai, nahi jana hai, school miss karna hai, and all those things, I say that there's a limitation, right? What best I can do in that limited options available to me, and today this is the only best option available to us. In fact, we went few steps ahead. Just to give a share here, we started augmented reality, where we started bringing in, characters into the classroom of the teacher. So if the teacher is in the class, suddenly a lion pops up, so many stories we tried using, augmented reality, because Aptech is a technology company. These things comes easy to us, naturally to us. We said, okay, let's do such smart things for our children, and we said, tomorrow is a surprise day. Please log in. We encourage everybody to be there on that day. And we brought in most of the farm animals. So it was a pre-recorded session, but one after the other, one animal was coming. Few of our teachers went to a zoo, because children are not able to go to a live zoo. We actually said, and the teachers volunteered that, ma'am, can we just go to a zoo and do a shoot? And we relayed that shoot for them. So, to that level.
So near the field came alive, but they wanted their teacher to walk them through the field trip, not see it in a Smithsonian museum or a National History museum. They wanted that teacher. So that's the kind of effort.
So with the mask on the teachers, that's when I said, I started that, hats off to the teachers, the kind of efforts they have taken. It's commendable,
Wow.
Isha. We all need to take a bow. Fatima, you need to, of course, because you've been the guiding force overall on this front. Right? Thank you. Isha, one more question?
Yes, one last question. There's a parent who is saying that, homeschooling is viable alternative for me. So why should I enroll in for a school? So that's one question that has come very direct from one parent. So if you could please, I think let Neha answer this time. Yeah, Neha.
Because we'll talk about
I think educators can answer it better because I come from the same space where I have been meeting a lot of mothers with this kind of a thought. But I'll again go back to my answer, Isha, that if as a parent you can manage it well and you're very confident about it, I do not see anything anti it. Like we are in a panel where we are open to all kind of diverse views, and if that works for you, if you can really take out time and the dedication, and as I rightly said that you are ticking off on all the expertise, then why not? You can definitely choose that option. There are pros and cons with everything. I'm sure Fatima and Bhavika will address these more, that what a school comes along, what are the pros and cons when you go to a school outside and when there's a homeschooling happening within the family. But if you're confident about it, I'm sure it will work for you. So you have to ask yourself, and also that don't look at it as a very short term approach, because if you put your kid into a specific learning environment, you have to be very, very particular about keeping it sustainable. Like how it is with dieting. Like if you go on a yo-yo diet, it will never work for you. The weight will come back. I don't want you to just take a hasty decision, because it's a tough time right now. It's pandemic, everybody's home, but eventually we'll all come out of it. We'll go back to our normals. Schools will restart. His or her friends will start going to schools. They will start learning from a different institution, and your kid might be still hooked to that home learning experience which you have put that kid into. After that, what's your ecosystem? Are you moving out to work, or you'll be still okay to stay by the kids side to make that home learning experience sustainable? Ask yourself these questions. If it's like a long term goal and looks doable, I think all the parents are quite capable of doing whatever every individual is, who are doing capable of doing what you have put your mind onto. So if you have put your mind onto, you feel you have the expertise, you can sustain it for a long term, go with it. Like my opinion is, you can do it if you believe in it. What do you say, Fatima? Because you can put in an educator's point of view there, more from the technical and the functional.
No, but Neha, I absolutely agree with you. If you believe you have the ability to, by all means, that's a choice. It is a personal decision. No one can force you to do it, and we do not want herd mentality. But I think the key point that you made is what an educator will talk about. It has to be a sustained one. It's not short-term decisions, it's long-term. Suddenly, if you feel after 3 years, I can't do it because I have to work, I want to do my course, my child now needs to get into the school, you'll get into that whole rat race of getting your child into a school. By then, the learning curves are different in what the school does, because they're working with a group of children. While you have personalized it almost on a one-to-one level, there will be a huge transitional curve.
Big damages. I would like to add here that right now it looks free, but later it might look expensive.
It will look very expensive simply because there are a number of things that have not been factored in. For me as an educator, while I bat for the social integration, for me it's very, very important. Children learn life skills because they're exposed to 30 or 20 or 15 in a class. They learn to wait their turn, they learn patience, they learn tolerance, they learn how it's not okay to slap another child or pinch the other child because it's fun. The teacher will walk the child between cause and effect, consequences. They learn the art of communication. That in some of our classes, even with AppTech, we have multi-age projects where the senior kids are actually interacting with nursery kids. It's also the ability, because in life, in a workplace, I am working with a 25-year-old. At 46, I feel, wow, I mean, how bright are these 26-year-olds? I'm also working with a 75-year-old. I have to match pace. Do we teach all that in our schools? Yes, we do. We are thinking about all of that, the end goal. Can you do it in your house on a one-on-one? No, you can't, because your child will be exposed to adults only. There is no peer interaction. For me, that's a big component, especially because of the pandemic. Children need to be with children. With too many adults, they are getting more mature and are losing childhood. So please understand there's a role for schools for all of this. Yes, there's going to be an expert, and if you are an expert at home delivering all subject matter content, kudos to you. I can't do it. I love humanities. I can manage maths, and I've done that. My son does not take any tuitions because he's anti-tuition. Can you imagine? He believes that if he can't understand it, his mother has to or his teacher has to. He's not going to anyone outside for help. Neha, I promise you, I did not teach him that. Have I become a super mom? I've become a stressed mom. But I have admitted I cannot do it. Therefore, I rely on my school. And I'm happier because my child is learning instructions from an expert. That makes me happy. Because even as well-meaning and resourceful as I am, I could be making some mistakes. I'm hoping my child has a clear path and a direction to it. Schools are not about four walls. Today, it's about a classroom. I think Dr. Abdul Kalam said this beautifully. It's about critical thinking. It's about learning, and learning doesn't necessarily happen in four walls. Today, we're seeing it. It's happening over the computer. But what it is about science. It's about discovery. It's about joy of understanding. By the way, guys, this is not math, science, history, geography. This is all of that in one simple skill. For me, schools represent all of that. So if you can do it, kudos, go ahead. As an educator, I'll advise you to have this option. But Neha, I think you've hit the nail, as always. Sustained action, not short.
Yeah, well said, Fatima, I guess. Really well said on this front, because it's ultimately, the choice you have to make. As Neha also mentioned, that it's going to be long term. Yes, by all means, it's the buzzword also currently, homeschooling and all that, that I can be a better teacher to my child. But that's a new age thought. But at the same time, the way we plan a child's day, there is a nappy time, nap time, there's a lunch time. Similarly, when the child grows up, there is going to be a school time, right? And the neighbors, all kids are going to be into schooling, so you will have to balance that life out. I never generally secondly thought of private tuitions, single child studying with a teacher, because you're not opening up the horizons of the child. If you are in a group, you learn better, right? There are 10 questions. If there are 10 students, there are 10 doubts, and the teacher addresses 10 doubts rather than addressing one doubt of that particular child. So it always is.
Bhavika, sorry, I'm going to interrupt, but one parent actually had a logical argument. He said, you know what, but then I'm comparing teachers. I'm comparing Neha with Fatima and saying, hey, Neha's so eloquent and Fatima is a bit reserved. So I said, think about in life, your child will have to deal with Neha and a Fatima, and they might just happen in, there might be a Bhavika and a Nisha as well. So what, everyone will have to be Neha? There aren't so many Nehas. There is a Fatima and there is a Bhavika. And unless the children are exposed to different, some parents have said, I'll have 8 teachers coming home. I said, damn good. You have the money, you have the resources, you have the time. Please go ahead and do it. That's a personal decision. But isn't it more economical then to look at a school? Because all of this gets scientifically mapped out. You're here, then you're worried whether this teacher is equipped to manage the curriculum like it would have been done in an XY school. You're taking on anxiety perhaps more than you should. I'm not calling this outsourcing. Parenting is about parenting. Education is about educators facilitating. There is a difference. I'm talking about the partnership when we talk about schools. Yes, Bhavi.
True. Yeah. I guess, we continue talking, Isha. All 3 women here.
All 3 awesome women, right? So I think at this,
I know.
I think on this note, we would end today's session. Before that, I would want to take the opportunity of thanking Fatima ma'am, Neha ma'am, and definitely Bhavika for giving us their precious time in helping us parents to resolve most of our doubts on how to support children for on a perspective of social emotional learning, and this has really helped us. Last but not the least, we at Aptech International Preschool would also like to thank all the parents and participants for participating in this webinar. We do have more sessions like this coming up, and we will be definitely looking forward to seeing you all there. Thank you so much once again, and thank you so much, Fatima ma'am, Neha ma'am, and Bhavika ma'am. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Isha. You've been a wonderful host. Thank you, Fatima. Pleasure having you again on this platform. Yes, Neha, thanks once again to you all. I guess let's sum it up by saying that, let's be happy moms. Rather than being too overstressed moms. I feel we really try and think too much. There are a lot of things that you can leave to the school. The child will be in good, safe hands. Just enjoy your motherhood. Don't ever look back and have a regret that I didn't do this with my child. And I admit that there are times that I do feel that there are certain things that I don't do with my child. You should not have that regret. There's somebody today talking to you all. There are a lot of platforms, there are a lot of avenues where you get those insights which was not there. So you're doing a wonderful job as a mother. All three of us, I guess, we are doing a wonderful job, including Isha, right? So let's pat ourselves, and we are raising wonderful children. I'm sure they'll be amazing human beings, and I'm sure the children coming to Aptech International Preschool will try and raise them as amazing human beings. That's my promise. That's the only thing I look forward in the school with my children.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much,
Absolutely.
ladies, for joining us here. Thank you so much.
Thank
so much.
you.
Thank you.
Enjoy the process. Like Neha and I would like to conclude, enjoy the process, the good days, the bad days, the days they cry. Because at least they are emoting in front of you. We have teenage boys. It's all done locked rooms. Not locked rooms, but private.
Yes, privacy.
Enjoy the
Yeah,
process.
I just want to say thank you, Isha, for moderating it so well, and Bhavika. It's so wonderful to see Aptech doing such amazing stuff. And these kind of panels are very important because it helps us also, broaden our views. Fatima, you're always a pleasure to be as a co-panelist to me. I learn so much from you always. And thanks to all the parents who are watching us. I hope you enjoyed this session, and sorry for taking more time than required. But I hope you found value in it. Yeah.
I didn't realize we just kept on
Didn't
talking, but
realize, absolutely didn't realize.
good,
Thank you,
lovely
guys.
chatting.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.